Barca might win La Liga this season. In fact, they would be my pick to win La Liga this season. Just the fact of the matter is they've looked fantastic. Now, I've been reacting to some Barca games and some Real Madrid games over on my Patreon. If you sign up at the $5 tier, I've been reacting to highlights from La Liga this season. I've been reacting to Bundesliga highlights as well as Bundesliga. I've been reacting to the German highlights as well as Premier League highlights, major games, major things happening in football. Those reactions will be found at Patreon at the $5 tier. And so if you're interested in that, go check that out. It really supports my work, helps me keep the channel alive. And also, you get to see that stuff that I just can't upload here on YouTube because it'll get blocked. But what I've learned through reacting to the Barca games, I've learned that Barca, they play a style of football that's beautiful. It gives me the same sort of vibe as watching Spain during the Euros. It's just beautiful to watch. They play so well together. But I am not a football pundit. I don't understand everything that I watch. And so in today's video, I'm going to learn from a tactics expert. This is from Football Meta. I've put Football Meta videos and reactions on the channel many, many times before. So make sure you go subscribe to his channel for more tactical breakdowns. But he's going to explain what's going on with relationism at Barcelona. And I'm intrigued to learn some of the tactical methodology behind my favorites to win La Liga this season. Well,
under Xavi's positional play principles, Barcelona's attacks had very quickly become predictable, with specific positions every player needed to occupy. But since the arrival of Hansi Flick, Barcelona's attacks are suddenly a lot more fluid, with the players not occupying any fixed positions, and creating these huge central overloads that give them so many options to exploit. Let's take a look. It's a dream start for Hansi Flick at Barcelona, who already finds himself at the top of the La Liga table. And while his opening games weren't perfect and did struggle at times against the opposition, it was their most recent 7-0 thrashing of Valladolid where we started to see what Hansi Flick is trying to do.
That was an amazing game. That game is over on Patreon. I reacted to all those goals. That was an amazing performance by Barcelona.
Do with this Barcelona team. Now, the vast majority of the differences from last season can be seen in the final third and how Barcelona create their chances from structured attacks in the opposition's half. But the build-up patterns are also important to understand. And one of the main differences is that Hansi Flick is not too reliant on building up from the back consistently. And this is because he already pushes a lot of players forward. So even from build-up, we can see that the fullbacks occupy positions out wide, quite high up the pitch. And he's comfortable keeping his 2 centre-backs and 1 holding midfielder in the centre along with the goalkeeper to create a numerical advantage against the opposition's press. Now, this is a very interesting pattern to understand right from the start because, as we know, build-up is a fundamental part of modern football, and a lot of managers commit a lot to this philosophy.
Yeah, when I was first learning tactics on the channel, first reacting to football tactics, one of the first ones I learned was build up from the back. It makes a lot of sense coming from an American football player and coach that you would work the ball up the pitch progressively to make it to the goal or to the end zone. It just kind of fits the way that I coach American football. However, as time has progressed, I've started to really appreciate and fall in love with more of a long ball passing kind of offense. So I'm less infatuated with building up from the back as I started out being.
Of building out from the back. For example, managers like Roberto De Zerbi want to have as many players as possible involved in the first phase of build-up. This is so the opposition pushes as many players forward as possible, and then they can exploit the space between the lines or even behind the defensive line if the opposition has pushed high up the pitch.
I like that.
But by having a lot of players instantly push forward, it makes it difficult for...
Wait a second. I like that. I know that's not the point of this video, but I'm learning tactics. So he commits everyone to the back, so it draws the opposing offense, and it could give them a through ball to Lewandowski, or it could give them options as these players sort of float out here. I like that. I know that's not what Flick is doing. This is De Zerbi's tactics, but I like this.
the defensive line if the opposition has pushed high up the pitch. But by having a lot of players instantly push forward, it makes it difficult for the opposition to press initially. So if we take a look at a lot of Barcelona's build-ups from this season, it looks like the opposition isn't even trying to press them too high up the pitch, because they have so many players already on the defensive line and between the lines that the opposition has to cover all these runs and all these players, meaning that they can already get a numerical advantage during build-up. Now, in situations where the opposition is trying to close them down and they commit a lot of players on the goalkeeper as well, is when we see Barcelona maybe revert to a double pivot with Pedri dropping a little bit deeper as well. And it's an interesting formation to pick up on, because Barcelona this season, their formations have been reported as both a 4-3-3 and a 4-2-3-1. But Pedri's position is a lot more advanced compared to the holding midfielder, be it Casado or even Bernal, who's been excellent in his opening matches for Barcelona in the centre. And whichever player is playing in this position, they are the single pivot in this system. And Barcelona are very comfortable keeping only 2 or 3 players in the centre here, with a lot of players pushing forward. And Pedri is a little bit more of a box-to-box player, but on the opposite flank, with Dani Olmo now being fully integrated into the team, he's already pushing a lot further up the pitch. So you kind of end up with this staggered triangle in the centre of the pitch that makes it quite difficult for the opposition to cover all these positions. So it's during build-up where we see the majority of these structured positions from Barcelona, and the rotation's a little bit more set in stone, in the sense that the fullbacks will hug the touchline and push further up the pitch, and it allows the wingers to move into a more central position. However, as they gain control of the pitch and move into the opposition's half is where we can see the true brilliance of Hansi Flick's tactics, and where these more relationism principles come into play with these big clusters of players in the center of the pitch. Now it's from the...
So I'm trying to remember this... If you're new to this channel, the purpose of this channel is, for me, an American who's new to the game. I coached hand egg and I played American football. I'm new to this game, and the point that I in these videos is for me to learn tactics, to learn the game. And so I'm remembering relationism as a philosophy. I did a video about it maybe a year and a half ago. I've reacted to so much football content and learned so much that some of it just hasn't stuck, and it's slipping away. Relationism is, I guess, on a spectrum of playing, and relationism is more or so a philosophy which is less mechanical. It's less, not to say less tactical, but it's less. What's the word that I'm thinking of? Methodical. It's more about the players, giving the players creativity and freedom. That's what I'm trying to look for. It's not like you're a cog in the wheel, like you're playing in a set position with set tactics. Like he mentioned in the beginning of this video, which was Xavi, it becomes predictable because they have a set in stone tactic. But with relationism, if I can remember correctly, there's more creativity afforded to the players on the pitch. It's less structured, less, just a less meticulous structure, and more about individual moments of brilliance, creativity, playing together as a team. And so I'm trying to remember some of these terms that he's bringing up. They're things that I've learned in the past, but maybe hasn't stuck completely. And I probably butchered that characterization of relationism. I'm just used to you throw the ball, you catch the ball, the dump. By the way, I love this sport. There's so much richness in it. I'm not here to just trash on it. But coming from an American football perspective, there's a lot that I'm trying to learn as far as the different philosophies in football. So relationism. Let me know if I butchered that down in the comment section. I probably did.
These positions where we can notice the biggest differences compared to last season, because as we saw earlier, Xavi was extremely reliant on creating his attacks in a 3-2-5 shape. So regardless of which players were playing, you'd have 2 players as the holding midfielders, a back 3 with 1 fullback tucking inside, and then you'd have the front 5 players, and the wingers would be constantly hugging the touchline. This allowed Barcelona to occupy all the correct spaces if you're playing positional play, have a lot of players on the defensive line, but it did mean that Barcelona's attacks became predictable, with the ball moving out wide, and then there was was always a player attacking into the half space, and the opposition did somewhat figure this out towards the end of the season, and it made it difficult for Barcelona to, for example, catch the opposition by surprise, because all their attacks would be in a similar pattern, and there were lots of crosses into the box that Lewandowski would struggle to finish. However, this season we've seen a complete flip in how Barcelona are creating their chances. The first thing to notice is the position of the wingers. So as we mentioned earlier, they move centrally a lot more frequently. So rather than the box-to-box midfielders constantly being the players in this position, you have the wingers in Rafinha and Yamal often being a lot more centered over here.
And one thing I've noticed, you guys let me know, I've noticed from watching Barca play this year, that Yamal does that thing that he did in the Euros. He gets the ball around this area right outside the box, like right around here. He gets the ball here, and he works it in here, and he tries to score that goal on the corner. That's like his move now. But I could see that being so dangerous because people expect when he gets the ball in this area, he's going to cut into the middle. And so it could actually, you got to try to stop it because he's lethal with that shot there. In fact, the last video that I reacted to, the goalkeeper was, you could see him. He was steadying himself as soon as Yamal got the ball right here because he knew that shot's coming, and he saved the shot because he knew it was coming. But when you have that threat, then I'm sure it can open up other options over here because the defenders are very, very focused when he gets the ball that it's going to that top corner. These are some preliminary thoughts coming from my thought process here, my perspective.
And this allows the fullbacks to hug the touchline, for example with Koundé and Balde in these positions here, with Pedri and Olmo also adding support. However, it's important to understand that this approach is a bit lopsided as well, because Yamal is very frequently hugging the touchline, and Koundé does push forward, but he's very comfortable moving inside as well. But you also have Olmo who's comfortable pushing forward, so you end up with this triangle on the right. However, on the left, it's almost exclusively the fullback in Balde or Martin to hug the touchline and push forward, with Rafinha essentially acting as the second striker and hovering around Lewandowski. And they exploit this space in a number of different ways. At times they circulate the ball.
That's so interesting. It is so interesting that Rafinha actually moves off that wing and operates maybe as a second striker. That's very, very interesting, and it's not conventional.
Slightly more structured way by passing it through the centre backs and then out wide, but at times a long switch in play from Kubasi is very dangerous as well, and we can see that in a lot of clips where Ferran Torres or Rafinha move inside, and it frees up space for the fullback to push forward and receive the ball. But the true beauty of this system is in fact what happens in the center of the pitch, and this free-flowing cluster of players has created so many issues for the opposition already. Now, the first thing that Barcelona need to do is they need to find a way to exploit this group of players, and that is where the two excellent centre-backs in Martinez and Kubasi come into the picture. And their ability to break the pressing line by playing these fast vertical balls into the centre, into any player dropping deep to receive the ball, is one of the main reasons why Barcelona have been so quick and so dangerous in this position this season. Specifically, a player like Kubasi that we started to see being implemented last season and have some impressive performances in the Champions League, this season has already become a staple of the team, and his ability to consistently pick out dangerous forward balls means that Barcelona are consistently exploiting this group of players in the center. Not only are the balls being played in between the lines, but they're also being played in behind the defensive line as well. And this is where the position of Rafinha and Lewandowski come into the picture, because their ability to rotate their position and constantly change which player is collecting the ball and attacking in behind makes it difficult for the defensive line to predict what spaces they need to cover. And we can get some really good examples of this from their game against Valladolid, where as the defensive line pushes up to cover all the players in the center, then Rafinha's pace means he can attack in behind and receive the ball over the defensive line. And Barcelona were able to find a lot of space and scored a lot of goals by beating
I reacted to this. Like I said, this is on my Patreon. I reacted to this. This is an amazing play and an amazing pass.
Offside trap and freeing up a player who was 1v1 against the goalkeeper. Now this is where I think Hansi Flick is trying to blur the lines between the ball over the defensive line. And Barcelona were able to find a lot of space and scored a lot of goals by beating the offside trap and freeing up a player who was 1v1 against the goalkeeper.
It's perfect. He beat
now,
the
this
offside
is where I
trap.
think Hansi Flick is trying to blur the lines between positional play and relationism, because by creating this big cluster of players in the center of the pitch, it allows Barcelona to rotate a little bit more freely. However, there are still positions that need to be occupied and still specific rotations that the players will complete to make this system work. So it's not as fluid as, for example, Fernando Diniz, where all the players are involved in these overloads and clusters on the side of the pitch, but it's not as strict as the positional play that we saw from Xavi last season, and it does give them a lot of options, specifically in the final third. So we've seen how dangerous this central cluster of players can be if they're able to circulate the ball in this area. But another advantage of having so many players in a central position is that it creates a distraction, and it forces the opposition to tighten their shape as much as possible, which subsequently frees up even more space for Yamal on the right flank or Balde on the left to receive the ball. And a big pattern that we see from Barcelona this season is the ball being played into the center, and as they circulate the ball, the defense tightens their shape, and now there's plenty of space to exploit on the flank for Balde to move forward, or specifically for Yamal to push forward and be in a 1v1 against the fullback. And it's from these positions where we then get the interplay between Yamal and Koundé, with Koundé often overlapping and adding support for Yamal, or even acting as support for the layoff and a ball onto the back post, with all these players then attacking forward. And it's one of the main reasons why Barcelona are packing the box with so many players on every attack, and it's led to an increase in all types of chances for the team. We've seen an increase in the amount of cutbacks, we've seen an increase in the amount of through balls, and we've also seen a higher XG per shot. Now, obviously, it's the start of the season, so these numbers will change quite significantly throughout the season. However, it's a good indication of how this system is already working at Barcelona and how it's already getting the most out of players who were struggling a little bit under Xavi last season. So Barcelona in possession this season have been really entertaining to watch, and the system is already starting to show how dangerous it can be if they're able to exploit the right positions. But even out of possession, there's some very interesting patterns that Hansi Flick is adopting with Barcelona. And I quickly want to touch on their first pressing shape, because it's a pattern that I'm starting to notice in other clubs as well. And I'm curious if this is going to be a trend of the season, or if it's just a pattern that I've been missing for the past few seasons. But what Barcelona are tending to do in the first phase of the press, rather than having their two most forward players cover the centre backs, is have their strikers and advanced midfielders cover all the players in the centre, with their wingers being a lot more aggressive on the centre backs and putting pressure in this way here.
Interesting.
This creates this box that means that it's very difficult to progress through the centre of the pitch, and the only option for the
Interesting. Yeah, I'm not used to seeing the wingers come off the wings to press. It's normally your strikers, your forwards. But yeah, I can see how this does block off this center position, making it to where these players, I'm guessing, are going to have to drop back to even receive the ball. But yeah, these are your only options. It's forcing it to a side.
the opposition is to move the ball into the fullbacks. Now, obviously, the fullbacks have a lot of space, so this system can be dangerous if they can quickly exploit this space. However, the way Barcelona are countering this is by having their fullbacks already start in a little bit more of an aggressive position, with their centre-backs ready to cover any space out wide. So, for example, if from a position like this, they want to play the ball into the fullback, this ball is going to take a little bit of time to travel. And as the ball is being played, then it's the fullback who steps forward, with Martinez, Kubasi, and Koundé, for example, shifting over to create a line of three and not give any space to the winger or striker in this position, ensuring that if the ball goes down line, then they already have a lot of players ready to cover any dangerous options. Now, obviously, this could potentially leave the fullbacks in a...
This is one of those things where I can see it all being drawn up with the pieces, but like playing it would be something different. Like I'm finding that for those of you who are new to the channel, part of my journey in falling in love with this game has been me playing the game with friends. And it's one thing that I can see it all drawn up on a board. Like I can see all the movements that need to be done. But when you're playing it, to think in terms of what your role is, to think where you're supposed to go, it's like, I'm sure that, these are professionals. These guys have been playing ball. They've been playing football since they were little. It's not that hard for them. But for me, I'm like, man, just keeping track of your role. Keeping track of, oh, wait a second. If they're going to play to the fullback, if I'm Koundé, that means I've got to drop down because I'm going to have to cover down here to be a third line or third defender in that defensive line. if we're all going to shift around. Just that's another thing. Teams do it. Teams shift around. Players know how to do it. As I'm only 2 years into loving this game, I'm just starting to think about all of the moving pieces and the moving parts of actually playing tactical football.
2v1, specifically if these players push quite high up the pitch, it might be difficult for Barcelona to quickly outnumber these positions. So I'm curious to see how this shape evolves throughout the season and if they want to adopt a similar shape against tougher opposition like Real Madrid, for example. But let me know what you think of Barcelona's tactics this season, and do you think it will finally help them get back on top of La Liga? Thanks for watching.
I do. I think that if I was picking a winner of La Liga this season, I'd pick Barca. I think Barca they look so good. Real Madrid have a very stacked squad, but they're taking some time to mesh together and gel together. They've got and they've got some ground to cover. I don't think now Real Madrid can definitely do it with the team that they've got. They can definitely become dominant, but I don't see Barcelona slowing down. I don't see them slowing down at all this season. I see them playing at like peak form early in the season. So you guys let me know in the comment section underneath this video, what did you think about this video? What did you think about my understanding of the tactics? And you know what, guys, I'll see you. By the way, those of you who watch this video, if you've watched until now, I appreciate you for that view duration time. That's going to really, really affect my channel analytics. I appreciate you guys. And just for those who didn't, so that they're just super confused, go ahead in the comment section below and just mention in your comment, somehow mention hurricane. See if you can work the word hurricane into your comment, and that'll let me know that you're one of those MVPs on the channel who has watched to this far. And the reason for that is I literally have to leave as soon as I upload this video to get our place here ready for a hurricane, which will be hitting tomorrow. So we are about to be, I think Hurricane Francis, I believe is the name of it. Let me look. Francine. We have a hurricane coming, and right now it's just a tropical storm, but it's expected to reach hurricane force. So yeah, we are under tropical storm warning right now. Tropical storm Francine. That's nice and fun. So let me know in the comment section down below. I'll see you guys in the next video.